Hey guys, I wanna talk to you about if this Mythical Island expansion that we got was healthy for the game or if it was unhealthy for the game. Spoiler alert, it was very unhealthy for the game and I wanna tell you why, so let's get into it. A little disclaimer first, this video is gonna be very negative and it will be a little bit of a rant, so if you can't handle some negativity, then yeah, please just stop watching the video, alright? But now let's start talking about it. So there were three major issues that the game had before Mythical Island was released, and there were three major issues that they had to at least attempt to minimize with this new expansion. And another spoiler alert, they not only did they not attempt to fix or minimize anything, no, they made everything much worse, and not only that, they did it on purpose. So let me tell you why and how. Yeah, let's start off by talking about what those three issues were. The community was complaining about this more than anything else everywhere, and I completely agree. So the big three issues were that Mewtwo EX was too broken, too OP, and it dominated the meta way too hard. Sure, you can say Pikachu EX was even worse or on par, but yeah, Mewtwo EX is what the community complained about the most, and it was the best deck. I can tell you why. It was because if you looked at the meta at the time, the only deck that never ever relied on a single coin flip was the Mewtwo EX, and that made it so much more consistent than everyone else that yeah, that was the main reason why it was so incredibly broken, and still is, by the way. Second major issue is that the game is way too reliant on a big RNG. Like, you are so heavily dependent on your draw, and yeah, especially your starting hand. Like that's where it begins already. Is your starting hand is very incredibly important. I can just give you one example. If you played the Pikachu EX and there were times where you did not draw into your Pikachu EX at all, and that makes the deck completely unplayable, as now all you do is you bump energy every turn onto the Zapdos EX and then you pray to RNGesus that he flips you some fucking heads, because otherwise you will just lose the game without even you can't even play the game, you just lost. Yeah, you just lost because of something that is 100% completely out of your control. And that's the key, that's like the definition of RNG. And it doesn't stop here. Like, drawing is just one part. The other part is this, as I already mentioned, like, Mewtwo was the only deck in the game. There were 8 decks in the meta, and every single deck relied on coin flips. Some more than others, but every single deck in the meta, 7 decks out of 8 relied on coin flips. The amount of coins that you have to flip per game is absurdly high, and the importance of those coin flips is game deciding. So we have Mewtwo EX being too OP, you're too reliant on how you draw, and the amount of coins that you have to flip is absurd. And there's the third major issue that everyone was complaining about, is going second. The advantage that you just gain by going second is so incredibly huge. Like, for example, in a mirror match, you just win, flat out win the game by going second. Your Pikachu EX will be able to attack the enemy Pikachu EX, one turn ahead. Like, you win that matchup, right? The enemy Pikachu dies before yours. Huge, incredible advantage you have right there. You know Mewtwo needs 4 energy attached, right? So in order to prevent that from happening, because if you let it happen, you just flat out lose the game. He will one-shot everything, and he will only need to one-shot you twice, 2 Pokemon of yours, and you just lost the game, right? So you have to prevent that from happening. But if you are not fast enough, he will get that 4 energy up and he will completely destroy you without you being able to do anything. And for you, for you to be able to stop him, you have to go second. You have to have one energy attachment more than he does. Otherwise, you will be too slow. So yeah, going second, not going second, right? Going first. That means your entire turn behind your opponent. And yeah, against the Mewtwo matchup or in mirror matchups, where there were only 2 decks that dominated the metagame, right? You were so likely to run into a Mewtwo, so you have to go second to stop him from getting this 4 energy attached. Or you will most likely run into a Pikachu matchup, right? You have to be quick enough in order to stop this Pikachu from constantly hitting you with 90 damage, so going second is just an absurdly huge advantage. And with this Mythical Island expansion, right, their main goal had to be fixing, or at least attempting to minimize those issues. Some of them, like fix anything, make the game slightly better with this expansion. That should have been their goal, and they didn't do anything of this. They made every single point of those like 3-4 points worse. And so how did they make every single point worse? Why do I say that? How come? I get this idea, right? Let me tell you why. So Mewtwo EX, let's talk about him first. You have to nerf Mewtwo EX, and you can do this in 2 ways. Either you introduce cards that are good against the Mewtwo, that maybe one-shot him, whatever. Introduce something that is good against the Mewtwo. They didn't, right? And you can just not buff Mewtwo. You can buff other decks, but don't buff Mewtwo, or buff Mewtwo a little bit, but buff other decks more so they can catch up in the meta and in their relevance, right? They didn't do that either. So what they introduced were cards that hit for 140, right? Like the new Executor. If Mewtwo has at least 3 energy attached, this thing hits for 140. The Gyarados hits for 140. So these cards would need a Giovanni to actually be able to one-shot the Mewtwo. But the developers realized this. Of course they did. As I said, they did all of this on purpose. So they were like, no, we can't let that happen, right? Nothing in this game should touch our beloved Mewtwo. So we have to introduce something that negates the Giovanni. So nothing in this game is able to one-shot the Mewtwo. And they did it by giving us blue, right? Blue is the perfect counter to Giovanni, and that is exactly what Mewtwo needed. Because now Giovanni is irrelevant, right? Gyarados doesn't one-shot Mewtwo with a Giovanni anymore. The new Executor doesn't one-shot the Mewtwo anymore, even if he has a Giovanni. And so they gave us Mew EX. That could be your only argument to say, hey, wait, Straw, of course they introduced a counter to Mewtwo EX. We got Mew EX. But there are 2 reasons as to why this is just not true. And yeah, one reason I just gave you with blue. Now Mewtwo EX you can use blue to not let your Mew one-shot him anymore. Easy. But Mew EX cannot use the blue. It's useless. Mewtwo EX will still one-shot the Mew EX. So already Mewtwo has a huge advantage here over Mew EX. It's just better. But there's more, right? Yeah, you could say, hey, Mew is at least something, right? The Mewtwo can only prevent Mew from one-shotting him if he has the blue. But yeah, there's another point, as I said, and that is that Mew EX is played in the Mewtwo deck as well. Like, Mewtwo makes use of the Mew EX himself, right? So even if you would come up with the argument that Mew counters Mewtwo, which, yeah, as we just did go over, is not true. But even if you would say, hey, Mew counters Mewtwo, then yeah, Mewtwo plays Mew himself. So yeah, this argument is just absolutely invalid. So yeah, point is, not only does Mew EX not really counter the Mewtwo EX, but Mewtwo EX plays Mew EX himself. And yeah, it replaces the regular Mewtwo as a wall, and with Budding Expeditioner this becomes even more of a threat, as you can now retreat Mew EX for free and heal it, and you know, you have a Koga basically in the Mewtwo EX deck. Yeah, congratulations. But again, Mew EX, Budding Expeditioner, Blue, like there's even Leaf, right? Leaf does reduce the retreat cost of your Pokemon by 2 for this turn, and guess what? Gardevoir and Mewtwo himself, Mewtwo EX, they have 2 retreat costs, so they can now retreat for free thanks to Leaf. Boom, another huge buff to this deck. But even with all of those cards, there's more. And there's not just something more, there's something absolutely ridiculously overpowered that adds, you won't believe it, but more consistency to the already most consistent deck by far in this game. And it gets Mythical Slap. You look at the top card of your deck, if that's a Psychic Pokemon, it doesn't have to be a basic, it can be anything. It can be a Corellia, it can be a Gardevoir, it can be a Mewtwo, it can be anything. And if that's a Psychic Pokemon, you put it into your hand straight up. So yeah, consistency as to getting your Gardevoir out early, I don't know what to say, it's just beyond good and evil at this point. So yeah, your free win on turn 3 by getting that Gardevoir out early, it now became ridiculously more consistent. But again, it doesn't stop here, it gets more and more and more. So if it's not a Psychic Pokemon, you put the card that you saw not back on top of your deck, right? You put it onto your bottom of your deck. And what that does is, surprise, surprise, it gives it more consistency, because now you know that is not a Corellia, that is not a Gardevoir, that is not what you're looking for. And this card that you were not looking for is now on the bottom of your deck. So it increases the chance that the next card that you draw is actually that Corellia or that Gardevoir or whatever you were looking for, right? So yeah, this card is giga busted, and I don't know what else to tell you. So yeah, that was it. That was everything about there's to say about this Mewtwo EX. They should have either nerfed it or, as I said, not buff it, but therefore buff other decks so they can catch up. But they didn't do that. They buffed Mewtwo EX out of the wazoo, and they introduced cards intentionally that hit at best for 140 and not for the 150 as we would have need to. There's 0 counter here to the Mewtwo EX, that would be exactly what we would have needed. We didn't get any of that, but instead we got buffs for Mewtwo EX out of the fucking wazoo. So there we have it. The point 1 is completely shattered right now. They should have nerfed Mewtwo EX. There were multiple ways to go about it. They didn't even attempt to, and instead did go the exact opposite way, and they did go like beyond good and evil with it, and gave it buff after buff after buff after buff. Like, it is absolutely ridiculous insanity right there. That is peak stupidity already, right? But hold on, yeah, every other single point that I will mention is pretty much the exact same way. So let's now go and talk about the RNG and have drawings and the importance of how you draw as the topic. And so the point here is that what they needed to do is reduce and minimize the importance of how we draw. They could have done this easily by giving us other draw options, draw engines I should say, other than just this Professor Oak. He is not enough. They could have also give us other options to search our deck for stuff other than the Pokeball, right? Professor Oak and Pokeball are obviously not enough to to minimize the issue of the RNG that we have when it comes to drawing. So we need something else that was obvious and everyone knows it, everyone complained about it, just the developers did not quite get it. All they gave us here is, first of all, there's no search engine edit whatsoever, so this is just completely dead. But they not only didn't they gave us new draw options and no new search engines, no, they rubbed like shit in our face, basically, by giving us Shadowed and Sigilif. So, Shadowed is like a worse Meowth. And Meowth already did not see, it doesn't see any play whatsoever. It's in a matter completely irrelevant. No deck plays this. Meowth, right? So the developers thought, what about if we make a much more inconsistent and way worse Meowth, and maybe someone will fall for it, you know? Like this had to be their thought. I can't explain this otherwise. It had to be their thought process here. By giving us Shadowed, you shuffle your deck into your hand and then you draw a card for each card in your opponent's hand. That is so niche, that is so incredibly specific, and in most cases this is like completely useless. It's even worse than the Meowth. Meowth at least guarantees you one card. This doesn't guarantee you anything ever. It's just, I can't explain it. It's so dumb. But whatever. Their thought process didn't end here. They were like, hey, look at Meowth. It's not played in any deck whatsoever. What if we just buffed the Meowth and gave it 80 HP instead of 60? And then they went a funny route with this and said, yeah, let's introduce a Meowth with 80 HP to this game. But let's only give this to the Mewtwo deck, which, yeah, Mewtwo, no, it did not get enough buffs yet, guys. It needs more consistency. It's not already by far not even comparable to any other deck in this game when it comes to consistency. So let's add even more consistency to this deck, why not? Yeah, and that's exactly what they did with Sigilif. I think I don't need to explain to you further why this is just peak stupidity, right? So, no new search engine whatsoever, and they rubbed shit into our face with our new quote-unquote draw engines. Very funny, I know. And so what was a big problem from the Mewtwo deck? The Gardevoir, right? The Gardevoir that you can, thanks to Mythical Slap, now search out more consistent, yada yada yada. We already talked about this. But yeah, these cards that let you just free win on turn 3 are a huge issue, and yeah, Gardevoir is the prime example. So they thought, hey, Gardevoir is already a very, very huge issue. What about we introduce another Gardevoir to this game and make it plant type, alright. But again, their thought process does not end here. There's another Gardevoir, and that Gardevoir is grass type right now. Cool. What is another problem, like a really big issue of this game? That's flipping too many coins, right? These excessive, infinite coin flipping mechanics that we have with the Zapdos EX, with the Misty, and so on and so forth. That's not enough, guys. We need more. And then a genius stepped in and was like, wait. Okay. We need more mechanics that win you the game flat out on turn 3, and we need more coin flips. So yeah, we already established we will make another mechanic that introduces infinite amount of coin flips. That's already pretty good, But the genius came to the conclusion that combining these two things, that's actually the way to go, man. And that's exactly what they did. Superior doubles grass energy. It gives you more energy, right? Simply, it's just another Gardevoir, as I said. Gardevoir gives you more energy as a stage 2. Superior gives you more energy as a stage 2. And yeah, while Gardevoir gives this energy to the Mewtwo that is ridiculously overpowered, Superior doubles the energy on Celebi EX, which is incredibly overpowered. So yeah, Superior makes sure that Celebi actually is able to flip an infinite amount of coins onto your head. Congrats very much, you crushed it with this new deck, with this thing that should be very exciting, and everyone was happy to have a new deck in the game, and you just combined two of the worst possible things you could have combined, and you didn't put them together. Amazing. You crushed like everything with this. So enough about Superior and Celebi, right? Let's talk about the Gyarados EX and the Misty combination. Okay, so that was another very, very big thing that the community was complaining about. It is a huge meme that was everywhere with the Misty, you know, and how good this is, how broken this is in combination with Articuno EX. Complaints and memes everywhere about this. Like, you could have not possibly missed a meme of Misty. Everyone knows at least one Misty meme at this point. So it was already broken enough with Articuno EX, right? No, the developers don't agree with you at all. They give it the most busted and the best card in this game right now with Gyarados EX. It has 180 HP for stage 1. That is even surpassing the Executor EX, which already was a monster. But Gyarados needs 4 energy to do 140 damage, right? So the only downside that this Gyarados has, you could say the only downside that this Gyarados has is it needs 4 energy, which is quite heavy. But guess what? The card that already everyone fucking hates. No one wants to see this card anymore at all. Everyone is so tired of it. And they just introduced the best deck in the game currently, and it evolves around Misty. Like, it is just so incredible. Like, really, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. You get the point here. It's very easy. Just open your eyes and you will see everything that's going on. I already talked about enough about Superior and Celebi and blah 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 blah. Like, you know, at this point, I think you already know how giga busted this Gyarados is and how tired everyone is of Misty and all this shit, right? So yeah, just look at this and you will really realize that, like, it. Please go to my comment section right now after everything I've said and showed you, right, and argued about. So please go into my comment section and tell me how could they have made this even worse. Is there anything to make this worse, or is this like peak? Does it, like, really, honest question, does it get worse than this? Like, to me it doesn't. Like, they combined everything that the community hates the most. Like the Misty, like one-shot mechanics, like infinite coin flips, like the free win on turn 3. Like, everything that the community hates and despises the most, they found a way to combine this in the most boring and, like, in your face dog shit way possible, right? Like, it's incredibly how bad this is. Okay, so let's take a short break and yeah, draw a conclusion to everything that we just talked about. So Mewtwo EX needed to get nerfed, didn't get nerfed, get buffs out of the wazoo. Draw engines and search engines, no, not even do, like, we didn't even just don't get new search engines. No, they gave us draw engines so bad it's a way to say fuck you, you know. And coin flips, did they make them less? Did they even try to minimize them? No. They did go beyond infinity with new coin flips, right? Celebi, infinite amount of coin flips, huge casino. Misty got a huge buff and is now a center of the best deck in the game. So yeah, there you go. Those are your coin flips right now. My mind is already blown. I'm already cooked. But let's move on to the third point on this list and talk about if they even attempt to fix or minimize the issue of going second. And yeah, this is really easy and fast to talk about because there is just nothing to show you here. Like, nothing really. Like, they could have fixed this so easy. All they had to do is give us a card or two in form of a trainer or a supporter that says like, hey, on your first turn, if you go second, you get a very good effect, you know. Easy, simply done. The Pokemon TCG already has a ton of those cards. But yeah, the Pocket developers are ignorant. They didn't even give it a thought. They didn't even try. They didn't even attempt anything to minimize or fix this issue. And yeah, I mean, at this point, that's all I'm gonna say about this point. I think I have already talked too long about the other points, and it was already too negative. So yeah, let's call it here. And as I said, there's nothing to talk about, right? There's no attempt, no nothing, no thought going into this whatsoever. It's just an empty point. And yeah, another huge issue that they would have absolutely needed to address in some way, shape or form. And they completely ignored it straight up, you know, like, alright. But anyways, guys, please talk to me about anything, right? Do you enjoy this Mythical Island? Is there anything that I forgot? Or yeah, just tell me anything you want in my comment section below. I would really appreciate it. And if you like Pokemon TCG Pocket content in general, not just negative stuff like this, right? I cover everything. I cover the entire meta. I do tournament breakdowns and so on and so forth. News coverage. You get it. And if you like this kind of stuff, then please consider leaving a follow. I would also really appreciate that. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and bye bye.